Alright, so here's our video for this week, and what we're going to do this week is we're going to add, subtract, and multiply and divide fractions that have positive and negative signs on them. So it's all stuff we've done before, it's just going to have this extra twist of having some positive and negatives to deal with. So here is negative 2/3 plus 1/5. Now again, I like to write them vertically here, so negative 2/3 plus 1/5. And remember, what we need to do is find ourselves a common denominator. So for 3 and 5, I think most of you will recognize the denominator we want is 15. So I'm going to put a 15 down there. So to get a 15 here, I'm going to multiply by 5 top and bottom. And again, what I'm going to do is, since this is negative 2/3, I'm going to think of this as negative 2 times 5 and make that negative 10/15. Here I multiply by 3 to get 15 top and bottom, and now I have 3/15. Okay, so remember, when we're adding and we have different signs, we end up subtracting. And now that our denominators are the same, it's not so bad. So we know it's going to be out of 15. And just look at the numerators here. So a negative 10 and a positive 3, and we're going to add those up. And what ends up happening again is that we subtract. So 10 take away 3 is 7. And our answer has the sign of the bigger number, which is negative 10. So it's going to be negative 7/15. Okay, so common denominator, and then look at your signs and figure out how to combine the numerators. So negative 10 plus 3 is negative 7. So we get negative 7/15. So get the common denominator first and then add them up. Okay, so here we have negative 1/6 and 11/18. I guess I'm going purple this time. Alright, so 6 goes into 18. That's good. So 18 is going to be our common denominator. And this bottom one we don't need to change because it's already set up. It's already out of 18. So this guy, to get 18, I need to multiply by 3 top and bottom. Okay, so 6 times 3 is 18. Negative 1 times 3, I'm going to think of that as negative 3. Okay, again, so just like before, bottoms are the same. We know it's out of 18. And we add the numerators together. Negative 3 and positive 11 make a positive 8. So we get 8/18. However, we're not quite done since this isn't reduced, so let's reduce it all the way. So we can divide each of those by 2, and we get 4 and 9. So 4/9 is the best answer for that one. So again, always try to reduce your answers if you can. So check to see if you can divide the numerator and denominator by a number other than 1, and if so, do it please, and reduce them. Okay, so here we go. One more like this. So I've got negative 11/12 and negative 3/8. So what's my common denominator for 12 and 8? So remember, if you have a hard time seeing that, you can always take the bigger one and start skip counting. So 12 plus 12 is 24. Oh, look at that. Found it right there because 8 goes into 24, so that's going to be our common denominator. So I want 24s down here. Okay, and so to get 24, I multiply by 2, and by 2 up here, I get negative 22. And then on the bottom, oops, I lost my pen, just a second. I need to multiply by 3. So that's going to give us a negative 9. Okay, so remember, if they're both negative, again, we're just looking at the numerators here, we add them up and keep the sign. So negative 22 and negative 9 makes negative 31/24. Okay, now I think, see if I can zoom in a little bit, or zoom out, I guess. On the worksheet I gave you, they want mixed numbers. Usually if it's just me, I don't care. I like improper fractions better, but let's make that a mixed number. So 24 goes into 31 one time. So it'll be negative 1. And it goes into 31 one time, and there's 7 left over. So it's negative 1 and 7/24. So on your worksheet, I think for any problem where you get an improper fraction, you'll have to turn it into a mixed number like that. Again, if it's a test, I don't care, but for the worksheet I'm giving you, in order to get the answer, you're going to have to switch it to a mixed number. Okay, so there's adding. So remember, common denominator, and then just add the numerators like you're adding whole numbers. Two negatives, you add them up and keep the sign, you get another negative. In this case, it'd be negative 31. Okay, so let's look at a few more here. We got some multiplying and dividing. Okay, so negative 4/15 times 6. Now, I don't think we've done too many like this where we have a whole number, but I think a lot of you are going to remember that to make a whole number into a fraction, what you do is you put a 1 on the bottom. Okay? And then what I'm going to suggest doing is to cross cancel. Remember, we multiply straight across, numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. But we can reduce it a little bit before we multiply if we can cancel a little bit. And here you'll see I got 6 and 15. And 3 goes into both of those. So I'm going to cross out the 6 and make it a 2 because 3 goes into there twice. And 3 goes into 15 5 times. So I'll make that a 5. So to me, it's much easier reducing it in the beginning like this than to wait till the end. So negative 4 times positive 2 is negative 8. 5 times 1 is 5. And again, for the worksheets I'm giving you, they may need you to turn that to a mixed number. So 5 goes into 8 one time, it's negative, so it'll be negative 1. And there's 3 left over, 3/5. Remember, the same rules apply. A negative times a positive is a negative. Different signs, negative times positive is a negative answer. For this next one, we got the same signs. They're both negative, so our answer will be positive. But let's do what we did up above on the last problem. Let's make that negative 4 into a whole number by putting a 1 on the bottom. And let's see what we can do cancel-wise. So 4 and 8. Well, look at that. 4 goes into both of those. So this becomes a 2. That becomes a 1. So now we got negative 1 times negative 3. That's positive 3. And 1 times 2 is 2. So again, a negative times a negative. Just like whole numbers, fractions, same thing. They're still numbers. Negative times a negative is a positive. 3/2 is also 1 and 1/2 if you need to make a mixed number there. Okay, a couple more. Negative 9/10 times positive 2/3. So remember, a negative times a positive is going to be a negative answer. And let's do some canceling here because I can see that 2 goes into 2 once and into 10 5 times. 3 goes into 3 once and into 9 3 times. So you can think of this now as negative 3 times 1, which is negative 3. And 5 times 1 on the bottom is just 5. And can't reduce that. Don't need to worry about making that into a mixed number because it's a proper fraction. It's okay. All right, so how about a few dividing problems? So remember, when we divide fractions, we change it to multiply by the reciprocal. The first fraction here always stays exactly the same. Okay, division becomes multiplication, and the second fraction flips over, 3/1. Okay, and now we just multiply. So a negative times a positive is going to be a negative. 5 times 3 is 15, so negative 5 times positive 3 is negative 15. 7 times 1 is 7. And again, for me, just fine, but I'm pretty sure on the worksheet you're going to have to make any improper fraction into a mixed number. So 7 goes into 15 twice, so it'll be negative 2. 2 sevens makes 14. That leaves us with 1 extra, so it's 1/15 left down there. Okay, I'm converting these kind of quickly. I hope that's okay. Again, if you have any questions about anything, especially that, let me know. Okay, one more here, and I think we're done. Yep, there it is. Okay, so that's got another whole number in it. We'll do exactly the same thing as we did before, and we'll put a 1 down there. Okay, and then we will change it to multiplying by the reciprocal, first fraction. Exactly the same, does not change. Division becomes multiplication. Second fraction flips over. Okay? And no cross canceling here, nothing we can do. We get 5 times negative 3, which is negative 15. 1 times 2 is 2. So with all of these, I've been treating the negative like it lives with the numerator. And then when I multiply the numerators, that's where I think about the negative. So here, positive 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. Okay, so that is again an improper fraction. We'll switch it around here so it's negative. It stays negative. Don't lose your sign. 2 goes into 15 7 times. That makes 14, so 1 left over, so it's negative 7 and 1/2. Okay, so that should get you through your worksheet. On your worksheets this week, make sure and read the directions really carefully. You have to rearrange your answers sometimes to answer some riddles and stuff. So just make sure you read the directions carefully as you're trying to figure out what to do there. And again, if you have any questions whatsoever, please do not hesitate to let me know. Thank you.